The charity Board Gamer is made possible by publishers like 25th Century Games. Take a look at the store in the link down below, and stay tuned for a little clip after the show. Hey folks, welcome to the Meeples of Joy podcast. This is a podcast where we talk about games, we talk a little bit about what's been going on, and then we have some guests come on and talk about what's going on in the industry, as well as our surprise top 5, where we talk about 5 games that our guests don't know about until probably now. Well, guess what? Surprise. You guys have a top 5 that you have to do tonight. But I am very excited to have Josh, and I'm excited to have Daryl on here. They are both designers of the game In Too Deep from Burnt Island Games. But of course, first, I'm going to pass it over to the amazing and wonderful, usually encourager of my chaos, but tonight is actually trying to prevent me from going on tangents because we are missing our wonderful and amazing Justin. That is tonight is going to be Chelsea. Chelsea, hello.
Hi, this is Chelsea from Chelka's Corner, and I will try to make Justin proud tonight and try to keep Chris in check, but we'll see how that goes.
Emphasis on the word try. Emphasis
Yes.
on the word try. It's gonna be a little wild. But let's go ahead. Let's say hello to our guest tonight. Let's start off with Josh. Josh, say hello. Tell us where you're from, and of course, whatever, all that stuff.
All right, I'm Josh Cappel. I'm from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and I am the art director and creative director for Burnt Island Games and for our other company, KTBG, or Kids Table Board Gaming. And I also do a little bit of design and development of games, which results sometimes in those games making it out to the world.
All right. Daryl, introduce yourself.
Hey, hi everyone, my name is Daryl. I'm now a full-time board game designer. I have my own publishing company as well, Origame. I'm talking right now from Singapore, where I live and work. Yep.
All right, awesome. Now I'm going to go right into this question right here. So now you said full-time board game designer. What were you doing before full-time board game design?
Okay, so when I met Josh, I was living in Canada. So at that time, I was doing my PhD in linguistics, and I came back to Singapore to work in the university for a couple of years, and then at that time, I decided, because at that time I was doing game design on the side. I was designing for a bunch of companies, including Artemis Project, Overbooked, a couple of others. And I had an opportunity to launch a publishing company with a friend. So I decided to take the plunge about 2-3 years ago. So for the company, I do mostly game design and game development, but I still do game design on the side. I mean, In Too Deep is a great example. Yeah, that's basically it.
I mean, I'm looking on Board Game Geek and I see 23 different games, and it looks like a nice variety of games, which I see. There's of course Artemis Project, Book of Dragons. The one that kind of got me interested is called Overbooked, which I've heard of that before, but
it's right here actually.
Nice. So yeah, no, that's really cool. I love the fact that you two had met before you went back overseas, and now you're working together on something beautiful that has been just an amazingly successful Kickstarter, which is really cool. I love seeing those kind of connections, especially when in itself you're kind of like a board game publisher, because you've got your own stuff that you've been doing, and of course Josh and Helena have been doing Burnt Island Games and Kids Table Board Games, and so you two just kind of like that nice balance kind of happened, which it's nice to see that. For me, like, I don't know, I'm a giant nerd, so I guess I get excited over things like that.
I think what's great too is that we were able to kind of combine two very different styles of design together to form a very seamless product.
Mhm. So tell us a little bit. We'll start with Josh on this one since I asked you some questions. All right, Josh, what was kind of the idea of designing a board game? Now you of course have been a designer in the past with other games as well, but then you've also stepped off to the side and you've brought in some great designers like Adam Dalton. You've brought him in and worked with him. Which we loved, of course. I think we played Fall of the Mountain King with him, and then you just recently did Power Plants with him, which is so well done from what I've heard. But what was kind of the journey of, okay, when do you know to step aside and bring in people, and when do you know to jump in and kind of get that itch again? Because it sounds like, from a designing and running a company perspective, there's points where you're like, okay, I've got this itch, I want to scratch it, and now I've got to get back into this. What kind of led to the designing of this game for you?
Okay, so with our companies, Helena's really the shot caller in the company and handles the business aspects of everything. She makes the decisions, and I do most of the creative, and we advise and support each other in those roles. As far as when to step back from being the designer, the intent was never for us to only publish my designs or our designs. We didn't want it to only be sort of like a vanity press where we're putting our own titles out there, but also to attract other quality designers and publish their stuff as well. So I have to sort of, pitch my games to our company in the same way that anyone else would. None of my designs are a foregone conclusion that they're going to be a Burnt Island or a Kids Table publishing project. In fact, I think we try to steer away from them generally and focus on other people's designs. And I contribute heavily to the development of those designs. So I'm sort of the lead developer along with the rest of our team here and make the games work for our two brands.
Yeah, I've enjoyed that you had the two brands. I remember the last time you came on with Helena, you all were talking about, how you wanted to have games, especially with the Kids Table board games, you wanted to have games where you could actually play it with your kids and not be kind of, bored out of your skulls in a sense of just being able to actually relax and enjoy the game and still have that competitive nature. And if anybody watched last year, we played Wreck Raiders and it got competitive. Like this game got super competitive. And of course, you can play this with the family and with your kids and it can still be competitive, but it's that ease of learning really works well. And that's something that I've enjoyed. And of course, we've played Creature Comforts on the show. We've played, what all have we played, Chelsea? I think we've played almost a majority of the games, but
nice.
Yeah. I mean, it's been nice to be able to enjoy the quality of the content that you all have done.
Thank you. I think I forgot the main point of your question, which was like how this game in particular came about.
Oh yeah.
So In Too Deep was it's existed in some form or another for over a decade now. I came up with sort of the skeleton of it as an entry to a contest where I don't even remember what the specific limiting theme of the design contest was, but it was a neat little sort of abstract puzzle game about shared pieces and how every player would be manipulating the same pieces trying to solve their own private puzzle. And that was sort of the notion of the game. And In Too Deep is a much greater blossoming of that central mechanic with lots of other thematic stuff built on around it, just to be driven by that and supported by that.
Now, what brought about the cybernetic, like cyberpunk style feel to the game? And this question, I'm going to go ahead and go to Daryl for this one.
I think we discussed this previously, and it was kind of like a very natural development that it kind of moved towards, because in the game there's a key mechanic where everyone kind of takes turns being that criminal or that or that element that you move around. And so the most thematic explanation is that you're actually entering the minds of that person that you are manipulating. And so that's kind of how, yeah, I mean, like a bit of like Matrix style kind of like mind possession. And we basically kind of went with it and went full cybernetic basically.
If anybody's listening, there's just these beautiful kids just coming by. It's always nice to hear their joy and laughter. It's usually for us, it's our 10-year-old that usually will come down in the middle of the stream, just kind of having some fun with us and be having some fun with us. So, but yeah, now Daryl, do you play a lot of games with your kids, like when you're actually in the designing process with some of these ones? I know this one is considered, of course, the Burnt Island Games line, which maybe is a little bit more older in age for some of the games. But what are some of the games that you've enjoyed playing with your kids?
Actually, my daughter she's only 2 right now.
Oh.
But I mean, I just enjoy kind of like, like taking my game components out and like just letting her enjoy the tactile feel of it. But I think since I've had a kid, I've been actively kind of making my games even more. I mean, before that they were already very family friendly. So like I've designed 3 games for Jumbo, which is I guess quite a noted family friendly board game publisher. But the games that I do for Origame, they're really meant for families or basically anyone to play. And it really warms my heart to see because after I started kind of making this family friendly approach to our games, we managed to get them into like supermarkets and even 7-Elevens are selling them. So
What?
I think it's a win-win for everyone. Yeah,
That's
That's
amazing.
awesome.
Well, I mean, 7-Elevens here in the States are a lot different, I've noticed, versus when I was over in East Asia. I know that the only thing that I noticed too, though, which was the only disappointment I had, was I could not get a Slurpee at the one that I went to. I was baffled by
yeah.
that. So
There's just board games everywhere, no Slurpees to be found.
I mean, well, board games,
mean-
that's pretty amazing though, to be able to get your board game into a location like that. I mean, that's
And not just that, like I think just yesterday or the day before, I was going to a 7-Eleven and the first thing I saw was actually my game. Like it was actually eye level and the first rack when you went in. So
That's cool, man.
That's awesome.
that is wild. So tell us a little bit, what has been one of your favorite things in this development process? Now, for those who don't understand, of course, it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of things that are surmounting. And of course, when you bring it onto a Kickstarter, there's kind of that nervousness of, okay, what if nobody is interested in it, or what if nobody backs it? But tell me about one of those moments. So instead, that was about just that excitement and that thrill in the design process for you, Daryl.
So when Josh first showed me the game, I think even till now, that's kind of like one of the memories, the best memories that I have, like the first time playing the game. And I think the experience of the sheer experience of the puzzle aspect of this game, where you can kind of like find different ways to carry out your mission. It's a really satisfying feeling that I think now I've probably played close to 3,000 games. I'm not sure. But yeah, like I think no other game till now I've actually kind of felt this like the ability to be able to solve a puzzle in different ways and try to maximize the number of turns in which you you can solve it. I think till now, that's still kind of my favorite part of the design process and the development process is to kind of impart that feeling to the players and having them enjoy that as well.
Excellent. Chelsea, I'm going to let you ask some questions because I'm doing way too much talking over here.
Oh, it's okay. So I was gonna ask, I guess I'll direct this to Josh.
Sure.
How, like, logistically, because you guys are on opposite parts of the world in terms of
Right.
how did you guys manage that planning and coordinating of designing when you're
Right.
not able to meet in person?
Right. Okay. Well, we developed the game significantly while Daryl still lived here before he moved back to Singapore. So a lot of the sort of the meat of the game was developed a while ago, and the basic foundational mechanisms of it were developed a long time ago with us in person being able to play games with each other. Now, are you familiar with how the game works, like what it is?
A little bit. Yes.
Okay, I'll give a brief explanation of the game. So In Too Deep, it's set in the future. It's sort of like a cyberpunk sort of setting, and in this setting, we work for sort of a secretive agency, and we're trying to foil a plot that's being formed by a dangerous syndicate. The syndicate has criminals that are running around in the city committing crimes, and what we have discovered is that we have the technology to hack into their cybernetic implants and control them and observe them and nudge them in different behavioral directions, these criminals that are acting in the city. So what we have is we have crime cards that tell us what the criminals are trying to do, and we want to be able to put them into position to sort of orchestrate things in the city so that they can commit those crimes, but we have control over the approach that they take, how reckless or restrained they're going to be in the process of committing those crimes. The reason we want to do that is when they commit crimes, we get evidence, we get intel, we get points, and we sort of collect evidence towards being able to foil the grand overarching plot that the syndicate is engaging in. So the twist of the game is that all these criminals that are running around, none of them are your own pawn, like Daryl was describing before. You don't have your own player pieces on the board. You can sort of hack into the minds of any of them. So the pieces that I'm controlling are the same ones that you're controlling. And on my turn, I want this character to go over here. On your turn, you want this piece of equipment to go over there, and so on. So the conflict comes from us moving stuff around and trying to get things done while other players are doing things with the same pieces. And that's the puzzle that Daryl was talking about. That's really hard to wrap your head around. And the development challenge for us was trying to make it so that it's easy enough for you to do it, but not so easy to do it that another player can ruin what you've done too easily. So it was a very big seesaw of us always trying to figure out how can we make it so that you are free to accomplish things, but not equally free to be ruined by other players. And that took a lot of play testing to figure out. Now, as far as how we manage to communicate over long distance, well, luckily we live in the time that we do, and there's all the tools available to us, such as Zoom and the telephone. The telephone was helpful. We have a development team here. Sean Jackman helped out tremendously on development here, so he and I were able to play it a lot. And then Daryl would do development on his end, and then we'd meet up and smash together, figure it out, see what worked and see what didn't. It was basically it was difficult, but we got it done because we had a deadline.
Had to get done.
Yeah,
that's how I always get things done, because I have to by this time.
Oh, I understand that, because with my ADD, if I don't have like a scheduled system like set up and planned ahead of time, then
nothing gets done.
Go off. It's a weird thing, because like with ADD for me, it's okay, I'm hyper focused on something that has nothing to do with anything, and then when it comes to the rest of it, I'm not as focused. So I've had to learn how to kind of organize it in such a way to gain my focus in little niblets of some sort, to just kind of work my way through.
I have the same affliction.
It's crazy sometimes. I can't describe it any better than that. It's just,
well, it's good that you have a strategy for tackling that. That's great.
Oh, it's wild. Yeah, yeah. Which that makes me want to ask this question then, Josh, for you. So with us, of course, having that kind of affliction, so to speak,
Mhm.
what have been some of the hurdles that you have to work through with that, hyperactivity versus hyperattention, and just trying to keep that focus going on? Because I understand, you're working, you also have life situations that happen along the way. Plus,
Yeah.
you've got family, and family, you've got to make sure that, of course, you're focusing on that as well. And so, trying to find that balance. How were you able to balance that with that?
Right. I struggled for many, many years to try to find solutions to the problems I was having. I take medication now to help me deal with it, but also it really extremely very much helped to have a wife and partner who very much is an organized, structured, just supremely capable and competent person that is able to help me stay on track and takes no can we swear on this podcast? Probably not.
Yeah, I'm okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, it just takes no shit in terms of being given excuses. She helped me figure out strategies and how to schedule myself, prioritize, make lists, check things off. Like, it's just all about organization and prioritization and sticking to it, and just not letting yourself slip away from it and start to let it slide, because you need to be vigilant and almost militant with it, and just do it. Make sure that you're always making lists, crossing stuff off, making lists, crossing stuff off. That's like been the key for me. Is just all about like writing down the thing I need to do as soon as I know that I need to do something, and then it's always just there so I don't forget it because I'm distracted working on something else.
Yeah, no, I wholeheartedly understand that. My wife, somehow she puts up with me and has helped me out a great deal into doing that. And so, like, seriously, even with this new format that we've been doing for since 2022 started, like we're doing 7 days worth of content in 6 days. And then, of course, making sure I have the day to edit all the videos and have them all scheduled. Scheduling, that is my best thing. Like, scheduling them all so that way my mind's not like, oh, did I not post about that? Did I not do that? Okay. And now she's come alongside me and is going to be helping out on the social media side, which I'm like, God bless you. God bless you so much, because she makes such a difference.
Yeah.
It's great when you have amazing partners that just make your life that you sharpen each other, like iron sharpening iron. So
right.
Yeah. Well, we're going to quickly talk about one thing. There was one thing I know, Daryl, we were going to ask you about with our charity board gamer format. We always like to talk about a nonprofit, and you had a nonprofit that you wanted to quickly plug. We'd love to hear about it and how we can support it.
Thanks. So this non-profit organization, it's actually run by I guess the wife's friend of my partner who runs Origame together with me, and it's called Takut Kids Club, TAKUT Kids Club. Takut is actually Malay for be scared, and it's basically a kids club in which creating safe spaces for kids to be safe, to have the social emotional support that they need to become really good people in future. And basically they organize activities. They have programs to help out all of these underprivileged kids, and they bring together volunteers to help with that. Basically it's in Singapore. I mean, it's a very small one, but I think I guess since we are bringing attention to charities, we must also focus on the smaller ones, I think, in my opinion.
No, that is so
Nice.
true. That's beautiful that you have something like that over there. Because yeah, I mean, kids matter a lot. We've got an organization that's local to us too, where we're helping out with, you know, kids that are dealing and families that are dealing with food insecurity and dealing with it's basically a community area where it's a lower income community, and so being able to help them in those situations, it's a blessing, I think, to be able to find organizations that are willing to help. So I completely agree with you that having something close to home is very important to be a part of. There's a lot of great global things, but sometimes there's things in our backyard that if we don't pay attention and look, then those people will never find the help that they need. So that's awesome. Very cool.
So I mean, when we have time, we try to donate. I mean, as I mentioned, we have a lot of like family games, so we try our best to donate games. So we've donated to hospitals and things like that to for kids to play our games.
That's awesome.
As well.
What I'd love for you to do is, if there's a website later, to just put it in the chat. We can have Chelsea maybe put that up there. Now most people, if it's of course from Singapore, maybe there'll be a translator that Google can usually translate the websites and things like that. And
all of our games are in English.
Oh, yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we could definitely, we would love to put that link up, and we'll also put that link up to the charity as well in our recording of this later, so that way people can go ahead and click on it or go to it and support it if they'd like, and be able to, you know, make a difference as well in Singapore, which is awesome. Real quick, folks, we're going to be doing next our 5 surprise top 5. We've chosen for our surprise top 5. What is it? What is our surprise top 5 there, Chelsea?
Set collection games.
Set collection games. Set collection games. Do you have a definition of set collection games, Chelsea? Because for me, when Justin told us that we had to come up with our surprise top 5 for that, I had to go to Board Game Geek and look it up, because my brain was seriously not there.
Yeah,
I did too.
How broadly are we defining set collection?
The way I went with it was, I was like collecting, like you could count Splendor in it. I think I think Wingspan. I mean, that's
so something that you use as a set, basically, to for scoring, for example.
Scoring.
You know, yeah. So a set of 3 of a particular item are worth, you know, X amount of points.
Yeah.
Where the collecting of the sets translates directly into points. It can't be like collecting resources to buy something, because that is not the same thing.
Check.
Sorry, I'm just running in my head of like, what games can I possibly say right now? And
so,
everything I'm thinking
for
of
example,
is like,
you can collect and harvest different type of beans in Bonanza, is an example,
right.
Or collect monuments in Raw.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
right. Okay.
Yeah.
So
that's
it's
And
collecting
it
stuff,
could be
collecting
loosely
sets of
connected
things
to it.
from
We're
toys.
not, you know.
Yeah, some of
That's
the
like basically
examples
any euro.
Any euro, yeah.
Yeah, and BGG even put games like Pandemic Legacy Season 1. They put Terraforming Mars, Spirit Island. They put Seven Wonders Duel. So they counted those all as set collection. I think there's 14,078 different games that Board Game Geek has classified as set collection.
It's a very specific number.
Yeah. Well, I may or may not be reading it from the page right now. But yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to let our guests quickly just kind of think a little bit about maybe that surprise top 5 list. I'm going to talk a little bit about our charity for February that we are giving back to, and that you can also help support. And that is known as the House of Afros, Capes, and Curls. The mission of the House of Afros, Capes, and Curls is an organization whose goal is to connect people from diverse backgrounds and build a community based on a shared love of science fiction, fantasy, gaming, Afrofuturism, while providing a safe space to explore the artistic, literary, and historic merits of geek culture. Their vision was to create as a vehicle for people of color to build more inclusive environments to engage around seemingly non-traditional spaces such as gaming, comics, science fiction, media, and technology. We want to ensure that the representation of and consumption by people of color is normalized rather than seen as an anomaly. We strive to increase representation for adults and youth of color, create programs that build community, and create programming that generates a sense of belonging where the community as a whole can discuss pertinent and sensitive issues using science fiction, fantasy, comics, and games as a catalyst for conversation. For people that are listening, if they do not know, we have Jade Rogers on, who is one of the founders of the House of Afros, Capes, and Curls. She is part of our RPG party that we have Tuesday nights. Jade came on about a year ago where we talked about the House of Afros, Capes, and Curls and what it's like to be a person of color going into a convention that is a majority white and just being stared out and being very much very much feeling, I think the best way to probably say it is very much uncomfortable in the way that she was treated. And so we had a great conversation about that. We talked about the charity and the organization that she is a part of and how they really do educate and help include people into this wonderful organization that is. And they also run a small convention called AfroCon that is all about inclusivity, and we highly recommend them for our charity of the month. We will be doing, of course, another large charity live stream for the House of Afros, Capes, and Curls this year, another 24-hour live stream for the charity. So thank you all very much. Let's go to our surprise top 5. So Chelsea, we're going to go ahead and start with you. I don't know if Justin created fun little transitions. I don't think he did this time because usually he tries to go back and forth for us. But Chelsea, why don't you go ahead and tell us your number 1 on the list, and we'll go on to Daryl after that, and then Josh, and then I'll keep us going.
So my first choice is Trash Panda from Game Right. It's a little card game, and it has just a deck of cards and a die, and you roll it, and depending what you get, you want to stash cards, and you count them up based on how many sets you have of the same cards and get points at the end. But you can steal cards from another player. It's a very cute game, but very quick at the same time. It's fun. You can take it anywhere with you. I played it the first time at a con, and I couldn't stop laughing because we kept, there's a paw, so you still try to steal cards from another player and put it in your stash, and there's like shiny objects that distracts another player because all the raccoons like shiny stuff. Mm-hmm. And at the end you count up the cards and how many you have of them, and you score your points. So
all right, Trash Panda. What about for you, Daryl?
I think I'll have to go with a classic. I mean, because that's kind of like the first thing that I thought of is set. Since
purity, so pure.
Yeah. I think, because so in a game you are basically the first player to kind of notice a set, which is, I think, like a straight flush in a color or all different. I think four different four different elements the same and one all different. I mean, for me that's really kind of like the it really feels like you're collecting sets. If we are being true to the theme here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's good. How about for you, Josh?
Let's see. I'm going to do the smart marketing thing and say Into Deep.
Hey!
Because Into Deep has a set collection aspect to it. Now, it's not the sort of driving component of the game, but it is very relevant to the final scoring. And it's got an interesting twist on it. During the game, you're collecting different types of evidence to try to foil the overarching plot. And one of the interesting things about it is that all the players are filing their evidence secretly into sort of a shared evidence locker at headquarters. And you need to get certain combinations or certain numbers of different types of evidence into that locker in order for the plot to be foiled at the end of the game. If at the end of the game, all of us together, not knowing what the other players have put there, if all of us together have failed to put the right evidence into the locker, then the syndicate has gotten away with our plot. We failed to foil the plot, and the player who has gone in too deep, who has become the most corrupt, gets away with their reckless behavior and doesn't suffer a penalty. If we have gotten all the right evidence into there, then the player who was the most corrupt suffers a big penalty in the game. So there's So that set collection aspect where you're trying to build a shared set amongst you of the different types of evidence is sort of a unique twist on the mechanism of collecting sets. There's also an interesting angle to it where evidence that you gather but don't file into the shared locker is going to influence your own final scoring. So it's sort of a split apart value to the evidence. You want to keep it so that it will create personal scoring for you, but you want to file it so that it's going to foil the overall plot in a certain combination. So that's how the set collection works in that game, and it's one of the ones I've been playing a lot lately. So In Too Deep, great game, brilliant, gorgeous designers.
Yeah, I hear that they're pretty awesome, and I hear that the publishers I hear that they're pretty good stuff over there. And it sounds like they may have understood why we picked set collection as possibly our surprise top 5 tonight. Who knows?
Perhaps.
Yeah, perhaps just a little thing. Now, the one I'm going to talk about, it's a little different. It's a game that I grew up playing with my grandparents and with my parents, and I remember playing it a lot when my mom was alive. It's a game called Hand and Foot, and I play this with my wife and kids. It's just a card game. It's simply, we have 5 decks of cards. And of course, we're trying to collect clean and dirty cards. And once you collect so many of those cards, you basically create just kind of a set. And at the end, when somebody goes out, they go ahead and they total them up. And once somebody gets to basically 10,000 points, which I realize is a lot of points to go towards, you win. And there's plenty of variations. A game that kind of took some of that is a game by Grandpa Beck's Games, which is called Antiquity Quest, which is very similar in that type of style. So which I was fairly pleased with. Beth and I got a copy of it, and we dressed up like I almost kind of did like a Teddy Roosevelt look, and Beth kind of looked like a spy. We had some fun playing that game. So it brought back some memories of playing with my mom when she was alive, and so that is Hand and Foot. Chelsea, what do you have for your next one?
So for my next one, I have Stellar by Renegade Game Studios, and you're collecting different either planets or interstellar clouds, asteroids, moons, and you have to find a balance between stacking them up in your telescope or setting them down to your notebook, because depending on how long your run is in your notebook, how many cards you have in that run, you multiply that by the number of stars that you have on your telescope of the same type. So, and that's how you get your score. So it's finding a balance between placing both of them. And I was lucky enough to play test this game when I had a different theme when it first came out. And then I had the pleasure of teaching it. So I've seen it through the different stages. So it's also a deck of cards, and you can take it anywhere with you. So it's definitely one of my favorites.
All right, let's go back to Josh this time for his next one.
All right, a set collection game that gets a ton of play here around my mom's house in particular is Azul. And Azul is a game where you're collecting sets in different rows of different tiles. And I think the interesting part about that set collection is not only are you trying to manage your own sets that you're collecting, but you're trying to manipulate the pools from which other players can draw the materials for their sets as well. So I find, especially in 2-player, but in all player counts, you are very interested in trying to manipulate other people's sets that they're collecting as well as your own. So that's a nice little twist on it, I think. Azul.
Yeah, I the only thing I don't like is when I end up having to take what's left and it all just basically being negative points for myself. That's the only problem I ever have with that. How about for you, Daryl? What's your next one?
I was actually going to go with In Deep, but since that was already said,
no, it's good. Go ahead.
It's good.
I hear the game's really good. You know, I've heard that these publishers put a lot of hard work into it, and that these designers are just fabulous. I mean, you know, and one of them has a wonderful and adorable 2-year-old daughter, which just those giggles and laughs were just wonderful. So yeah, tell us more.
Okay, I mean, I'll just talk a little bit more about the set collection. I mean, Josh already kind of did that, but so I mean, to me, So you have the core puzzle game, but I think that the complementary game to it is the set collection, which is the collecting of the the corruption cards to kind of make sets of these cards. And yeah, I mean to me that's really the main set collection part of the game. And there are many things that you can do with these cards. So you can make sets where you collect the different criminals. You can make sets. There's like high risk collection where there's certain sets that are harder to come by. So in order to get more of these cards, you need to go even deeper, so to speak. So you need to collect. You need to commit crimes that are even more intense, and you have to do more of them. So even though it's a complementary part of the game, I think it's quite a key part of the entire experience.
Nice. My next one that I've got is Sagrada. I love Sagrada. It's one of those games that I experienced in 2018, and then my boys decided to buy it for me for Christmas. It was a nice little gift from them. It just, I think it's partly one of those things where when they enjoy the game, they want to buy it for you so they can enjoy it too. But you know, you've got these little secret cards which will tell you, okay, if you have this many of this die, you'll get so many points based on it, or maybe you'll get so many points based on the pips that are on it, as well as some community cards to kind of work off with scoring as well. But it's one that Floodgate Games really won me with Sagrada, and I went from Sagrada to Boss to Holy, and I haven't stopped yet. So that is Sagrada. All right, next up, let's go. Chelsea, what you got for your next one?
So I have Cat Lately from AEG, and you are rescuing cats and you're collecting food to feed them and collecting toys and catnip, and the toys for each unique toy, you know, the scoring keeps going up. If you don't collect enough catnip, you only have one, you lose points, and then you're, you know, so that aspect of sex collection, I always go for the toys, and I tend to forget about feeding my cats, which is not necessarily, you know, the best thing. But
She's a dog lover, folks.
I love all animals. I'm just only allowed to have dogs. I'm allergic person living in the house, so I'm only allowed to have dogs. But I would have a farm if he would let me. And it's really quick to play. You can take it almost anywhere. It has some, you know, extra components and stuff, but it's not very big, the footprint, and you can play it very quick. So it's easy to get a game in, even in like a busy, stressful work day. You can just, at the end of the day, just play really quick.
Sounds fun.
How about for you, Daryl?
Okay, so I'm going to talk about, I guess, a bit more obscure games now, which basically games from Origame. I want to highlight a game called Durian Dash. So there's a very pure element of set collection in there. So you're trying to collect durians. So durian is a type of fruit. It's a very Southeast Asian fruit. I think for many Americans or North Americans, it's a very smelly fruit.
Stinky.
Stinky fruit.
Yeah, very pungent. Yes.
Yeah, but for us, it's like it's like a, how do you say it? I guess it's the most luxurious fruit you can find because it's creamy like an avocado, but it's very rich and flavorful, and you know, like some durians can go up to like $100 actually. So in this game, you're actually collecting lots of different varieties of durians, and you have like certain likes and dislikes. You need to collect sets of the ones that you like while trying to avoid the ones that you don't like. Yeah, and all while there's a mechanic where you're trying to avoid other players as well while they're trying to rush in and collect durian. So yeah, so to me that's my number 3, Durian Dash by Origame, designed by Daryl Chow.
Wow.
Heard of him.
Yeah, interesting. I have to look that one up now. All right, Josh, what's your next one?
Another set collection game that sees a lot of play around here, especially with the kids, is Point Salad. So very simple card game. It's again like about as simple as it gets. Cards have two uses. They're either a vegetable or there's some sort of scoring mechanism which creates a new set collection criteria for you. So it's interesting because nothing has a set collection value when the game begins, but over the course of the game, your interest in different vegetables rises and falls based on the scoring cards that you get. So again, it's a sort of a nice variant on set collection where your interests sort of shift and change over the course of the game. It's cool.
All right. My next one is going to be Marvel Splendor. Now, I love Splendor. I think it's a fun game, but Marvel Splendor, it's just a little bit different in the taste of you actually collecting Infinity Stones, and the Infinity Stones are crucial to being able to unlocking extra points, and you have to get all the Infinity Stones, of course, before you can snap your finger and win the game. Yeah, it's well made. The artwork is adorable. If you're a big comic book fan, it's consistent comic book artwork, which is nice. Sometimes you'll play a game and it doesn't fit with the feel for it. But Space Cowboy did an amazing job putting ice skin on the game and then adding a little bit of difference to it, because base Splendor, you just have to hit a certain number of points. You can basically collect these same colors over and over again and just make your way there, versus now you actually have to assemble at least so many Avengers and be able to get all the Infinity Stones by the end of the game. So yeah, nicely done. Marvel Splendor. Chelsea, you're number 2.
So I have Arboretum from Renegade Game Studios. And when it's a card game, but to me, it's very thinky because I have to plan ahead. And with my ADD, that sometimes doesn't happen. So I struggle a little bit with it, but I still enjoy it a lot. And you have to create a path of the same type of trees to be able to score them. But you also have to pay attention at what other cards other players might have, because if they have the highest card, they get to score it. So you don't want to, you have to pay attention a little bit to what others are doing and what they're discarding, because you draw 2 cards and discard 1 and place 1 in your path. And you could have multiple ones. It's also, again, finding a balance of, paying attention to what's being discarded and what it's being, what other people are picking up. And you then see all the trees laid out on the table as you have created your little forest area. So.
All right. How about for you, Josh?
Let's see. Other set collection games. It's weird because I was worried people were going to take my ideas. I just kind of gave the ones that I like the best first. So now I'm not really counting upwards towards my best. I counted down for the best. So let me see, a set collection game. I like our kids table board game that's called Bugs on Rugs. So it is a small card game. It's a drafting game where there's a pool of bugs in the center of the table, and they each have their own different sort of scoring criteria, and players take turns pulling a bug into their hand. And then whatever bug is left over is going to create some sort of effect that's going to mess with what players have done over the course of the round. And you play for many rounds, and at the end of the game, you'll score. So ladybugs score this way, mosquitoes score that way, larvae score that way, ants score this way, spiders eat flies, and so on. So you're collecting different sets of bugs, and each of them score in neat and interesting different ways. There's lots of different bug collections that you can assemble that work well together, and it's easy to play stupidly, and it is challenging to play smartly.
All right, Daryl, what would you say is your number 2?
Okay, so I just realized, just like Josh, that we're going backwards now. So but it's okay. I think these are just the ones that are in the top 5. But anyway, so previously I mentioned a game called Durian Dash. Now I'm going to mention a game called Durian. by Oink Games. So I mean at Origame we
I'm so tired of durians as a theme. It's so overdone. These durians everywhere.
yeah, these are
The
basically
new zombies.
the the only two games that I know about Durians, but just happen to be both about set collection, and so I thought it would be pretty suitable for this this topic. And the cool thing about Oink Games is that they always have some sort of like so Oink is a publisher from Japan for those who don't know, and here at Origame actually we always try to promote board games from Asia. And actually, all of our games from Origame are, by default, they always have like a very modern Asian type of theme, durians. And actually, Oink also has a game about durians called Durian. And it's cool because it's a set collection game where you have their secret information. So you're trying to collect fruits, but you don't know when the round's going to end and whether you're going to be collecting all the stuff that you want to collect on time. And so I think as we kind of establish set collection games where there's lots of interaction involved, it's good. And so Durian is one of them.
Very nice. I'm actually looking at your Origame site. I'm just looking at all these beautiful games on here and was looking at that Durian Dash, and that looks interesting. Because every time I think of durian, I think of Top Chef, like when it's like that one ingredient that comes out and everybody's like, oh no, because they most of them butcher it when they make it, and it's usually in the dessert round. For me, my next game, I have to go to one of my first loves when I got back into the hobby, Pandemic. Just for the fact that you're collecting those different countries and you're trying to use them to help you with getting along these different paths, and of course you're needing to get certain countries in order to cure these diseases. And what makes for a very interesting game is once you've created the cure is actually trying to eradicate it still. And when you have those, for some reason you played it on hard and decided, oh, we're going to play with all the cards, that makes for a very quick, brutal game. So, but it's definitely a lot of fun. Pandemic has been a joy for our family, and I loved playing it as one of my first games that got me back into the hobby. And that was back in 2018. Chelsea, what's your last one?
So my last one is Castles of Burgundy. And I mean, that's been around since 2011, I think it is. It was one of our first games that we actually purchased and not like played with somebody else. And it doesn't get old. You're collecting the little tiles to place on your map, and once you complete one section, it scores. The animals have like they're like the light green lime color tiles. They it has like a double set collection because you score them based on what type of animals on the tile. So you kind of want to collect all, and as you connect more, they score more. I have the dice version. We have it on the iPad, and we played, like we traveled and we were playing it in the car. We spent a lot of time in the car driving around. So that was one of the games that we played constantly while we were on vacation. So.
All right. Next up, Daryl.
So I'm going to highlight another Origame game. It's called Walk and Roll. And I mean, you may argue that it's not set collection, but I'd say there's like at least 2 different types of set collection in the game. So in Walk and Roll, you have a menu. So everyone gets a menu, and you're trying to cook certain dishes. And so there's dice that you roll that you need to. So for example, if I want to cook like chicken fried rice, I would need 2 rice and a chicken, and then basically I need to collect these food items to cook to cook my dishes to get points. And then the more of the certain types of food that you cook of the same type, you're going to get more bonus points as well. And And while you're doing this, you're also kind of like giving other players items that they need or do not need. And so you also have to kind of be on your toes for that as well.
What about you for you, Josh?
Final game I will mention is a game called Fossilus by David Diaz, also published by Kids Table. It is a dinosaur themed game, a dinosaur a paleontology themed game where you're sort of pushing pieces around on a 3D board and excavating little bones and stuff from from little pits, and you're using those to build dinosaurs to satisfy cards that are up in a display. So you're getting a lot of points from that, but whenever you complete a dinosaur, you get the card, and it's got little set collection elements up in the corner of the card. So every card tells you the sort of like the movement type of that dinosaur, whether it's a biped, quadruped, flying, or aquatic dinosaur. It tells you what era it's from, whether it's Jurassic, Triassic, or Cretaceous, and it tells you whether it's a herbivore or a carnivore. And those form the basis of different sets that are going to give you points at the end of the game in a couple of different ways. So you can get points if you get at least one of each type of dinosaur, like all I think it's all nine criteria. If you have at least one of each, you get points. You get points for being the player that has the most in any given category. So we'll say, hey, who has the most bipeds? I do. I get these points. Who has the most carnivores? You do. You get those points, and so on. And also, if you hit a minimum threshold for each category, you'll get a certain number of points as well. So there's sort of a 3-tiered type of set collection scoring built into those cards. It's sort of it's one of the scoring strategies you can take in the game is to focus on that set collection instead of on the immediate points that you can get in other places. So yeah, it's a fun alternate way to score.
Oh gosh, yeah. Fossilus was one of the ones that we had on our top 12 games of merriment and good cheer, and we also did a giveaway, which was awesome. I think who won that one? Was that Allie White that won that one? I think. I'm not sure. Well, no, it was TJ Howard, if I'm correct. I shipped that out. So special thank you also to, of course, Kids Table Board Games for being a part of that giveaway. That was a lot of fun to do that. But yeah, that was one of the ones that we recommended. We recommended these games, and they were like, hey, would you all be interested in giving away a copy of it too? And you all said yes, which was just a blessing. So thank you for that again.
The production, like the quality of the game. When I opened my copy, I was like, wow. And like the little bones, they're all a little different. And I was like, why is there tweezers in there? Because I'm trying to stick my finger in to pull stuff up, and my husband's looking at me like I was insane. He's like, they gave you something for that, and I was like, oh well, thank you, because I'm like, how am I gonna get this out of here?
Flip the whole thing over and shake it.
Oh yeah. Well, my last one for our surprise top 5 is going to be Wingspan. Now, Wingspan is just one of those beautiful, beautiful games. Now, I personally love the digital version more over the physical version, only because
that's rare.
It has the music is so well done. The tutorial is just fabulous, and every time you acquire a bird and add it to its habitat, you learn a little fact. The fact is actually read out to you, and you hear the bird sounds, which is it's beautiful. But Wingspan, what's so nice about that game is you start off with, of course, these cards. You can choose, okay, which one am I going to get points based on? Is it going to be on the wingspan? Is it going to be on birds being certain predators? And then, of course, your scoring might be different for each round. Might be the most eggs in this habitat. It might be the most birds in this habitat. So little things kind of change up the way you play throughout the game, and then you sadly lose to Amanda Panda, and you cry a lot. So that's what usually happens for me. But highly recommended. Wingspan. That's from Stonemaier Games, with just the design of Elizabeth Hargrave. Just was so well done. And I can't wait to see the further expansions that come out from it. I think my favorite one was the one based around the birds in Australia, because it changed up a little bit of the mechanics and the dice, which was well done. But folks, that was our surprise top 5. Just so everybody knows too, in our descriptions down below, you'll be able to see down below in our descriptions and notes for the podcast, as well as on our live and recorded viewings. You'll be able to see the link where you can actually go ahead and order Into Deep straight from Burnt Island Games site. Also, we're going to go ahead and make sure we put links to Durian Dash and Walk and Roll, which we've already done in our chat part for our live stream version of this podcast. But we are beyond excited, and we are so thankful that you all took the time. I know it's got to be about a 12-hour difference right now in Singapore. So I'm guessing it's about 8 in the morning over there, or is it closer to
9 a.m. Yeah, 9
9
a.m.
a.m.
9 a.m.
Yep. Yeah. So thank you for getting up with us and spending time with us today, Daryl. Appreciate it. Josh, as always, a blessing to have you on. But just so everybody knows real quick, where can we go to? I mean, we're going to, of course, plug the game and tell people where they can buy them. That's kind of a given. But tell us a little bit about where we can find you, whether it be social media or what you're planning on next. Let's start with Daryl.
Okay, so I think most of my games are still published by Origame, but I mean, I'm always designing games for different companies. You can check, I guess, my BGG page. But for Origame, you can follow us at origame.co on Instagram or Twitter or all of the. I think mostly Instagram is. Or you can go to origame.co and sign up for our mailing list. That's a great list of all of our. I mean, you get like first-hand info on all of our new games.
Nice. That's a really good deal. How about for you, Josh?
I'm pretty social media quiet in general. I read it a lot, but I don't post very much. A lot of Wordle these days. However, where you can find me is via Kids Table Board Gaming or Burnt Island Games. We put out a lot of products, and we I don't know. The work that I do is expressed through those companies mostly. So if you want to hear from me, you're going to hear from me through the games that I develop and create the art for.
Oh, and they definitely do speak for themselves. They've been enjoyable and a lot of fun for us as a family here. And
thank you so much.
I want to say thank you very much. Well, folks, we're going to go ahead and end our podcast. Once again, I'm Chris.
Chelsea.
And thank you for listening to the Meeples of Joy podcast. We'll see you next week. What are you doing? You're using the wrong shaker. Oh, hey, Gary. Yeah. No. Shelly took the shaker with her when she left. So I've got my thermos. I'm just kind of using that, and maybe if somebody got the alcohol order right next time. What did you say? Nothing. Yeah, I've got those drinks. I got that martini right here for table 62. Got it. Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah, I'll get some. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks. Luckily, you don't have to be a bartender to enjoy games like On the Rocks, Kingswood, and Kohaku, all from 25th Century Games. Highly recommend it. Link down below. Oh, and don't forget that 80 rolls of silverware before the end of your shift.
Hey, thanks for watching our video.
If you like what you saw here, go ahead and hit that little like, subscribe, the little bell thingamabobber, you know the thing, and watch some of our videos. Maybe one that's maybe up here, or maybe down there, or over there, or down there. I don't know where they are, but thank you all. Remember, when we can gather at the table, we can do the same for a good cause. Bye.
Bye.